Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome inside another edition. It is the Adam Jones podcast. I'm Jerry Coleman. He's Adam Jones, the former five-time MLB All-Star. We're brought to you by our friends at the Baltimore Banner. And today, in episode number 43, AJ, we're going to be joined by Orioles catcher James McCann, a guy that you actually requested, you ask, and you shall receive. We also will debate or probably debate the overexposure, in my opinion, of the Little League World Series mercifully coming to an end this weekend. Adam and I will have a lot to say about that. I think you know where we stand already based on the gestures early on, plus another edition of Socially Speaking where someone will qualify for a Miss Shirley's or Dunkin' Donuts gift card. We still have some of those to give away from our live appearance. And a shout out to our newest sponsor, Effective Solutions. Thank you, Eric Brady, for all of your support. Still looking for more sponsors. We're never going to turn you down. Adam, you're back out of the U.S. As we mentioned last week. You've done some more traveling, but I believe you're back home in your friendly confines there in Spain. What have you been up to?
I've been up to golf and beach. Yeah, it's good to get back over here in Europe. Barcelona in August, they have a lot of holiday. So everything is very, very slow right now, which is great. So we can just get back into the mode of things here back in Spain and just preparing for the playoffs. And hopefully I can return to Camden Yards or wherever the job takes me.
Well, hopefully it will be at Camden Yards. Can I ask you real quickly about the women winning the World Cup and how big of a deal that is over there?
Well, it's huge. We were in Marbella walking along the pier, and we just stopped at the bar. And literally there were the 13 minutes left in the overtime. So we sat there and watched it. My kids were annoyed because it was hot outside, which I understand too. But we ended up being able to watch it. We were next to some British fans, so they weren't too happy. But a lot of people were happy in Spain here. I mean, it's amazing accomplishment to win the World Cup. Obviously, Team USA, disappointing end to their World Cup aspirations. But, I mean, those ladies are amazing. They'll be back. But, no, for Spain, it was amazing. They got a lot to be proud of around here with John Rahm winning recently. I mean, just it's a lot of things going on here. Pretty cool.
Don't forget my kid Alcaraz, too. He showed up well against Djokovic, man. He's amazing.
I cannot talk about not mention Spain without Alcaraz. You are correct. He is impressive, and he got over those jitters of facing Djokovic.
Look forward to seeing those two rematch in New York at the U.S. Open for sure, 100%. Coming up next month.
100%.
All right, let's get going and bring in our special guest. He is the Orioles catcher, James McCann, brought to you by our friends at Jimmy's Famous Seafood. James, thanks for taking the time and joining us here on the Adam Jones podcast. And you've been in the big leagues for a while. You're closing in on, just over 9 years service time. Soon it'll be 10. You got two playoff teams you've been a part of. How would you describe this year's Orioles team compared to some of the other clubs you've been on, and where do they fit in the scheme of things? Because, again, you've been to the playoffs twice before with other teams.
Yeah, one thing that's so special about this team is just the camaraderie. The quality of individuals in that clubhouse is special. Obviously, the talent, everyone can see that. The wins and losses, everyone can see that. Everyone can see how we're winning. But what a lot of people don't get to see is what happens behind the scenes. And that's just, the quality of human beings that are in that clubhouse. And, the truth matters that guys truly love each other. And when you have a clubhouse full of guys like that, the sky's the limit.
McCann, always good to talk to you, baby. What does it take for a young team who's obviously playing extremely well? What does it take to finish this season strong, to keep this momentum going throughout the regular season into the playoffs, to not get gassed as, the dog days of August are here, and then obviously they're leaving, but you get into September. How do you combat that with just father time of the game of the season?
Yeah. The first thing is how it is with young guys. They're always energized. So the youthfulness actually helps the matter, and the fact that guys are younger, guys are healthier than older veteran players at this time of the season. I think the thing you run into now is the pressures of what the next month and a half looks like, and just constantly preaching the fact that It doesn't matter whether it's September. It doesn't matter. It's still just one game, one pitch, one inning at a time. And if you take care of that, then hopefully, by the time October 1st rolls around, we're sitting in a really nice spot.
Love that. I want to ask about James McCann. A few years ago, free agent, got a nice payday. Nice payday. Oh, yeah. Set yourself up nice in the future, as you should. Then traded from New York to Baltimore. Obviously, Baltimore has the stud catcher, Adley Rutschman. How has that new change been for you as we going from a starter to I wouldn't even say you're a backup player, because, you have some fishing at bats to qualify for a lot of the things, because Adley does a lot of DHing. You do it as being a fantastic catcher. You're able to man that position. How has this role changed for you coming from just a new organization? From an organization to a new organization on the fly.
Yeah, definitely a different role than what I had in New York. But as you know, there's a lot of things in this game you can't control, and you roll with it. And the big thing for me is just being going from a very veteran heavy team to a very young team, and being a veteran guy in a clubhouse full of a lot of very, very talented players that lack that major league experience. Kind of being that sounding board for those guys, being the role model to show guys, hey, we lost today, but it's okay, because tomorrow's another day. Not allowing 4, 8, 10 at bats to determine someone's attitude, and helping them realize that you're going to have 0 for 10s, you're going to have 0 for 20s, but over the course of 500, 600 at bats, 0 for 10 doesn't matter. That's not a big deal. So kind of being that veteran presence is definitely a different situation than what I had, but I'm really enjoying it. Getting to work with Adley. He's, again, it's one of those situations where it's easy to see his talent. It's easy to go look at the All-Star game and see him playing there. And it's easy to see that. What you don't see is the person behind the mask and the guy that puts in the work. He's there early. He's there late. He wants to get better. And that's something that's so cool is a lot of times you see these guys, they make it to the big leagues and they're content. And he's one of those guys, he's not content. He wants to be better, and he wants to get better every day.
And speaking of coming from New York to Baltimore, you had the opportunity to play for the former Orioles manager, who was the manager of the year in Buck Showalter. And now we think that Brandon Hyde should be declared manager of the year in the American League this year. The differences and similarities between the two, James, that you've witnessed.
Oh, man. There's similarities in the attention to detail. That's one thing that Hyde brings to the table is he sees a lot of things. He covers a lot of things. He makes sure that we're very prepared. Differences, obviously, Buck's very old school. Buck's been around for a long time. Hyder's a little younger. But at the end of the day, they're the same in that they want to win. They want to win, and who doesn't? But the way they go about it, very similar.
We've got more ahead with Orioles backstop James McCann here on the Adam Jones podcast. But first, a word from our loyal, dedicated sponsors, including our newest one. Take a look for Effective Solutions, and thank you, Eric Brady, for your support.
The Adam Jones podcast is brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Charm City's favorite crab cake destination. Local sports fan, experience the ultimate pregame party at the tailgate. Cheer on the Ravens with iconic live performances, an open bar, and mouth-watering eats. Can't make it? No worries. Bring the same food that caught the attention of the Food Network right to your doorstep. Shipping East Coast recipes nationwide. Jimmy's Famous Seafood is the official sponsor of the guests appearing on the Adam Jones podcast. And by our friends at the Weinman Company. By Hollywood Casino Perryville. For some, it's a game of chance, but for you, it's a game of choice. Hollywood and Barstool are bringing you more ways to bet in Maryland. Catch all the action in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville at the Barstool Sportsbook, or bet online with the Barstool Sportsbook app. When you download the Barstool Sportsbook app, register, and wager, you can get up to $1,000 bonus cash, plus up to $1,000 when you sign up and wager in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville. Play from anywhere and get up to $2,000. The choice is yours. Must be in the state of Maryland to wager and over 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. By Jack Daniels, 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, the #1 cocktail in the world, is now available in a can. Yes, that's true. Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, mixed with Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, are now both available in a can. 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, ready to drink? Please drink responsibly. Whiskey Specialty, 7% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, Lynchburg, Tennessee. By Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction, like leak investigation, framing, trim carpentry, insulation, drywall, painting, wallpaper, flooring, masonry, waterproofing, paving, tree removal, and much more. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. By G-Leaf Medical Cannabis only. Visit gleaf.com. Medical cannabis is for qualified Maryland patients only. The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Royal Farms. Download the Royal Farms app from the Apple App Store or Google Play today. New Royal Farms Rewards members will get a free any-size cup of Royal Farms award-winning coffee just for signing up.
You know, it takes a lot of hard work to be a professional football kicker. I would know. I am a professional football kicker. So when I need the energy to get through a tough practice, I get a cup of coffee from Royal Farms. Royal Farms' new coffee machines grind fresh beans and brew them for a perfect cup every time. It's the freshest coffee in the world, and just the kick I need.
Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
And a reminder, if you guys are enjoying this podcast, make sure to check out the Baltimore Banner at thebaltimorebanner.com/AJ to get started.
Now back to our continuing conversation with Orioles backstop James McCann here on the Adam Jones Podcast. As far as the pitches and stuff like that, in terms of calling pitches, who does that? Is that Chris Holt? Is that you? Is it an analytical guy? Is it Adley? Is it up to the catcher? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's always on the catcher and the pitcher once the game starts. But we have a very, very good working situation here. We have the 2 pitching coaches and Chris Holt and Holmes, and then we also have a game planner in Ryan Klemek. And Klemek, I guess, is part of the analytic department, but he's also in the dugout with us. So in between innings, we're getting to sit there and talk through at bats, talk through what we're seeing, what he's seeing. Adley and I will sit there and discuss things over the course of a game. But on the field, it's the catcher and the pitcher. At the end of the day, it's the pitcher's game. They have the right to shake off. But ultimately, it's me and Adley when we're back there calling pitches.
I want to talk about the pitching staff because that's what everybody's question mark. Can the Orioles pitchers do this? Can they do this? They should trade for this? I was an advocate that said, okay, you got the prospects, you could trade for a lot of things. There's multiple scenarios. You being a veteran guy, you've caught some phenomenal pitchers heading to the Hall of Fame. How have you seen the maturation and step into the plate of Kramer, of Bradish, of Grayson of late, of everybody? How people have showed up, and when they was like, yeah, he might not be able to do this. Cano, Bautista.
Yeah. Again, it's the talent's there. Honestly, it's incredible. I'll take a step back before I answer this and say, I've been a part of 4 different organizations now: Detroit, Chicago, New York Mets, and Baltimore. And from top to bottom, I've said this before, and I truly believe it. From top to bottom, this spring training with the Baltimore Orioles was the most talented group of players I've ever been around. And that, go back to those Detroit days and when you had multiple Hall of Famers. You got guys like Miggy, Torrey Hunter, Victor Martinez, obviously Verlander, Scherzer, David Price. Very top-heavy groups and obviously very, very talented groups. But once you got past that 26, 27, 28, 30th man, there's a noticeable drop-off. This group of players, you get past the active roster, and all of a sudden you've got 14 dudes that are knocking on the door trying to get to the big leagues and ready to perform. And you've seen that. You've seen guys come up and perform. So you add these somewhat unknown names across the league, guys like Bradish and Kramer, and obviously, Grayson, he's a big-time prospect. You add them to that kind of list of the unknown, and all of a sudden you look up and you see where they're at right now. It's not surprising for me. Just seeing the stuff they have, and I think the maturation process you're talking about is is learning how to pitch and navigate through a major league game. Sometimes it takes getting your lumps and bruises to figure out how to navigate through a lineup multiple times.
I got a follow to that is, who has matured the most? I mean, because again, even though you're having success as a team, individuals go up and down. Who's matured the most, and how awesome is it knowing that, okay, we send somebody down. When we call somebody up, that guy's getting caught up is ready to be here and wants to be here, not just like he's a body. No, this guy is ready to be here and ready to contribute right now.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's guys come up and they don't miss a beat. That's a testament to the development that's gone on here over the last few years. And Jones, this as a player, when you're in the thick of a playoff hunt and somebody gets banged up and you call somebody up and they don't necessarily belong there, that's kind of a hit to the team when they know they're going to be missing that productivity. And you don't have that here. The next guy that steps in is a really good baseball player, and it's pretty neat to see. The maturation, you got to go with Grayson, just because Bradish has done a phenomenal job of understanding who he is as a pitcher and how he's going to have success. Same thing with Kramer. But something about Grayson is just, he lit the world on fire coming through the minor leagues. Not that he was never challenged, but he dominated. And then he got to the big leagues and it's kind of a eye-opening moment for him. He realized, this is another level, and this is he's going to have to make some adjustments. And you've seen the adjustments that he's made, and I think he'll continue to make even more adjustments to become even better.
No doubt about that, James. And I must ask you, are innings limits a real thing in your mind? I know the team has moved to a 6-man rotation out of concern that the names that we have just mentioned, are reaching their peak in terms of frames.
Yeah, I think it is from a standpoint of guys will start to get tired. You'll start to see pitches that get left, up in the zone or miss spots, because of being tired. I think for me, I worry more about years down the road. Guys are young right now. They're gonna pitch through, or they're gonna say they're gonna pitch through whatever they may be feeling. But you don't want to set somebody back for their career because you run them to the ground this year. You don't want them to end up with injuries in following seasons because their arm wasn't ready to handle that type of workload.
Let's go back to this recent road trip. It was obviously your bat is, on fire. And I said this, you guys went on a road trip in August to Seattle playoff aspirations, Padres playoff aspirations, Oakland, we know what they are. You guys did what you needed to do in all three cities. Split the five, go 500 with the two really good teams. The team you're supposed to beat, you went there and handled your business. Who's leading that charge? Look, these are games we need to win. We lost a series in San Diego. That's aspiring. That's a good team. But we get to Oakland, we need to beat these teams. Who is in there hey, no, don't play too down to the talent. You got to come here. We have to take care of business, and you did. Yeah, no, it's actually something we've talked about for a long time. Veteran guys like myself, Adam Frazier, Kyle Gibson, we've kind of preached it from day one. You got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Especially in the AL East, you're playing against, four of the other best teams in baseball. When you go into Oakland, you have to take care of business. When and you look at what we've done against Detroit this year, what we've done against Kansas City, against Oakland. I want to say we're 18-3 against those three teams on the season, and that's what a first place team does. That's what a playoff bound team does. Is they take care of business against the teams they're supposed to take care of business. And when it comes to those playoff games, no one needs to say, "Hey guys, this is a good team over there. We better step up today." Everyone kind of knows that. It's those trap series like you're talking about when you go in and you're supposed to beat somebody. And, they have nothing to lose and they come out playing hard. Those are the games you have to find a way to win. And we did. And it's been a lot of fun to see the talent at this level with a lack of MLB experience, learning how to win at the big league level.
Did you guys get all misty in Oakland knowing that the time may be limited there and you may be playing baseball in Vegas? Did you guys wonder what baseball in Las Vegas may be like? And, do you see yourself playing in Las Vegas one day as a major leaguer, James?
It's definitely interesting. I've been at Oakland when the fans have been there, and that's a rowdy group of fans. So I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I kind of hoped that it would be an expansion team going to Vegas, and Oakland would figure out a way to stay. Just there's a lot of history there in Oakland, a lot of really good players that have come through there.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as the Oakland trip, I believe there was a steal of home. How do you prepare for that when that occurs?
It's a surprise, man. Honestly,
I bet it is.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's a tricky situation because it doesn't happen often. So it's not something that you prepare for often. It's kind of one of those things where, as a corner infielder, you see the guy take off and you got to yell to let the pitcher know. But you don't want to, wave your arms or do something crazy that causes him to balk, because that's, then he's going to score. Same thing as a catcher. You stand up and it causes your pitcher to balk. Well, the guy's going to score regardless. So it's one of those things where you got to hope that the pitcher's, got his eye on him. And it's a learning lesson too. It's a way for a pitcher to realize, hey, I better come set, paying attention to that runner a little more. But it's one of those things where as a defense, you can't give them a free base, especially home.
Your last road trip, we stick in this road trip. You did something for your first time. You got the pitch.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
How awesome was that? I never got the pitch. I mean, I would say I would do this, but how awesome was it to be on the bump?
And if I can interject real quickly as part of that question, Adam, I just want to know did he have to audition for Brandon Hyde or Chris Holt or someone before getting the call?
No, it's kind of one of those things that you don't really want to do, because that means you're getting beat pretty good. But it's also one of those things where you're picking up an inning and saving a guy in your pen. So it's kind of a team move. I've caught plenty of position players in my career, and every time I catch them, I tell them, throw it as slow as you can and try and throw strikes. There's no such thing as throwing it above hitting speed, but there's such thing as throwing it below hitting speed. So that's all I was trying to do, was trying to see how slow I could throw it and let them get themselves out. And somehow I managed to navigate the top of their lineup without giving up any runs.
How have you done against position players personally when you've obviously hitting against them?
I've done pretty well. I know I've got at least one homer. And that's what I tell guys too, is like, man, don't go up there and try and shoot the 4-hole. Go up there and try and hit a homer. That's what you're supposed to do. I'm all for, like, I remember a few years ago, there's a 3-0, homer hit. I think it's Yermin Mercedes with the White Sox. I'm all for that. I'm all for swing the bat. I don't want my position players walking guys. I want the hitters to come up there and swing, and I want them to barrel a ball and go right at a defender. And if you happen to get hit, then good for you. It helps your stats.
You remember Josh Fagley?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He struck me out.
He struck you out. but you're probably trying to go deep.
Oh, big time. And it was but it was like a check swing. Like, I didn't want to swing. It was like a softball pitch. I didn't want to swing a check swing. I took Darnell McDonald deep back some years back. But Fagley struck me out, man. I'll never forget that.
Well, see, you got a memory from it.
Did you ever have to shake off Adley, or did you guys have a system you were working that day? How did that go?
I was throwing one pitch and one pitch only, and that was lobbing it in there, trying to get them to swing.
And when Adley came out and greeted you at the end, did that feel kind of awkward, the way he does that?
Yeah, I mean, it was, it's always kind of awkward just because we're getting beat bad. So really there shouldn't be a lot of smiling going on, but it's one of those situations where guys have a good time with it. You look over the dugout and guys are laughing, and it's kind of a way to find a positive in a negative game, honestly.
Well, I saw your wife tweeted all about it. And what I noticed about your wife and following her on Twitter, she seems to be more active this past year, when it looks like she's been on Twitter for a while. Did you get the Twitter bug going once you came to Baltimore?
I don't know. I don't do a whole lot on Twitter. I stick more to Instagram. But she'll get on there every once in a while and send something out. She's pretty up to date. She understands the game. She follows the game. She's a good one.
I wanted to ask before, we've taken a lot of your time, and it's game day also, but a lot of people want to know what happens and what's the conversation between catcher and umpire. Obviously, no one can see it. Both got masks on. When an umpire misses a close pitch, what's being said? When he gives you a pitch, what's not being said? That's obviously being said. Like, what is the conversation going on between you two?
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things where every catcher is different. The way I approach it is I want to be their friend. I want to be on their side, and then that gives me room when they do miss a call for me to come back and be like, hey, in the moment I'm going to ask them. I'm going to say, you got that just down, you got that just out, whatever it may be. And then I can come back and be like, hey, I was able to take a look at it. I think we can get that strike call. Over the years, I've learned that gets you more calls than the catcher that's sitting back there, cussing at them all game long. Umpires are human. They're going to make mistakes. And my big thing is if you're willing to talk to me about it, then I'm good. If you're willing to say, hey, I might have missed that one, let me know. I can come back and be like, yeah, you're right. You did miss it. But it's when the guy that wants to tell me he knows he didn't miss it, and I'm sitting there and hey, man, I'm watching the same game, and I know you missed it. So that's kind of my approach is just, being their friend, being able to talk to them. As long as we can talk, then we're good. I may get frustrated that you're missing calls, but at the same time, that's part of the game. And then I can at least go back to the dugout and be like, hey guys, he's calling stuff down today. But don't be afraid to, we can't take down there, whatever it may be. Just to be able to warn my team.
That's good intel. All right, settle a debate for us. Our final question. It's been a long-running debate between us. The wave, as a veteran player, I mean, has it run its course, or do you still enjoy seeing it in major league ballparks?
I enjoy seeing fans involved, honestly. I think it's funny to watch the section that's trying to get it going, and how frustrated they get when it doesn't make it around the stadium, and then how excited they get when it does make it around the stadium. So I think anytime you get fan involvement, it's great for the game. It's great for fans. One thing I wasn't on the playoff roster, but I was on the Tigers traveling squad. That's right when I got called up in 2014, and the fan base here in Baltimore, that still might be two of the loudest games I've ever been at. Just how loud and how great the crowd was here in Baltimore. So anything the fans can do to make noise and get that atmosphere going, I'm all for it.
Let's repeat that here in 2023, James. We're looking forward to that here in the closing months.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Hey, really appreciate you taking the time, as Adam said, on a game day. Best of luck and continued success to you, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed talking to y'all.
Thank you, brother.
All right, be well. There he goes, James McCann. And there's a reason you wanted him on the podcast. You specifically requested James McCann because, well, why did you want to speak to him so much?
Well,
I mean, you know why after hearing him.
Well, of course. I mean, he's been around, and we've gotten so many perspectives, a lot of perspectives of the younger talent. Obviously, the excitement of getting called up to the major leagues and all that, and it's beautiful. But I want to get some of the calmness of it and some of the consistency of being in the major leagues. And he's been there consistently for a long time. So just to see his perspective on how he's handling the youngsters, the pitching staff, and just how awesome it is for him to be in a unique position, to be on a playoff team, to be one of the leaders and one of the veteran go-to guys on a young team. So, he's basically a little bit of a role reversal because with the Mets, you're tons of veterans over there. Now he's won a few veterans, and it's just a great perspective. And, I always love the way he plays. And, he's been a catalyst for this team. And again, you always talk about guys and you talk about the superstars, the all-stars. It's guys like him are the reason why the team's in the position that he's in.
I agree. I think catchers have an excellent perspective. You look around the major leagues, a lot of these managers are former catchers for a reason.
Time. Yeah, the game managers.
Yep.
Game managers. They're just, they're not always going to be the best players, you know what I mean? Some of these managers, but they've always been really good game managers. That's why I say like Caleb Joseph would be, in the future, a good manager. Matt Wieters would be a good manager because they just were able to manage the game.
Time now to shift gears. Still talking baseball, but it's beyond Baltimore. It is the Little League World Series, the ongoing, the terminal Little League World Series, which does conclude this weekend. Is it overexposed? Is it worth watching? I think I have my opinion, and that would be absolutely not. We know it concludes on Sunday, Adam. And as you know, I'm not a fan of all the coverage of 12-year-old baseball players, despite being, a Little League veteran myself. I never got a chance to play in a televised game, but frankly, watching this is unwatchable. And I just think these kids are getting overexposed. I mean, Growing up, back in the 70s and 80s on ABC's Wide World of Sports, they would have the U.S. championship game and the international championship game. You keep rubbing your eyes like I'm wearing you out with this conversation. For those not watching on YouTube, I can't wait to hear your response. So why can't we just go back to the old ways and not see Northern Kentucky take on Ohio in a regional matchup at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon when only friends and family are watching?
Well, first off, don't be jealous of kids that are bigger, stronger, faster, and better than you. Already at 12, okay? Already at 12, they have reached your peak. Already at 12. This is unbelievable. And you can't go back and say in the 1970s, 80s, because look, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I told Joe Torre on this. I said, because he always got mad at the getting in the box rule, and I was always like the big culprit of it. And I said, Mr. Torre, when you were playing, you were a hell of a player in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, managing. When you were playing, how many cameras was in the ballpark? How many cameras? How many TVs, how many stations was being watched, okay? One TV station, maybe you get in the Sunday game of the week. Today, we can watch the games on a cell phone. We can do anything on iPads. These kids, they have their own Instagram accounts. Technology has just improved all this stuff. The last 20 years with technology is amazing. And the great thing about this is a lot of these kids, you start to see from right now, 5-6 years later, you see a lot of these kids being drafted. That means they stuck with it. They enjoyed their experience. And then adding the little league game with the major leaguers, which was Philly and
Washington
in the Nationals with Bryson Stott with the number 2 pencil bat. Like, come on, bro. Where a kid can be a kid. Put your hat on backwards. Where a kid can be a kid. This is unbelievable. These kids are watching their childhood dream, they're the stars of the game. And it's amazing for baseball to continue to do it. These kids, they're thriving in it. They enjoy it. And, hey, stick with it. Continue to do it, MLB, Little League World Series, ESPN, all you guys. Continue to support these young kids. Blast them out more. Show more of the 13 and 14-year-olds also, the 15 and 16-year-olds, and the 17 and 18-year-old groups. Show them all. You know what I mean? These kids need to be televised so that the crazy part is they should be televised so that scouts can actually see these kids playing against other talent opposed to just having to go to these other places. You can get them in one setting on TV opposed to just getting them in one setting without TV. The TV aspect is amazing. And you need to take your butt to Williamsport and slide that down that damn hill.
I don't need it. I'm a grown man. I don't need to go down that hill with a sled or a paper bag. I'm just saying this. It reminds me of the child actors that we've seen that peak too soon. How many of these kids really go on to major league careers? We'd have to check with our research department on that one.
Well, you don't have to check with research. I mean, it's just a pure number of how many kids make it to the major leagues playing Little League anyway. You're talking about the small group of 12 teams on international and United States that make it. You got to broaden until like the thousands of kids, the millions of kids that are playing. It's hard to make it to the major leagues. This is a great opportunity for these kids to get some exposure, feel like a celebrity for a week and a half, sign some autographs. This could be the highlight of some people's professional sport life, just like you. This was your highlight. Let these kids.
Well, I never made it on TV. I never even got that
because
far.
Your teams weren't bad. You did not help your team lead them all the way to Williamsport.
It's tough for a right fielder. It's very difficult for a right fielder batting ninth to really help out his little league team. But I tried my best. I'm just saying it's bad. And I have experience with this. This is bad fundamental baseball that we have to endure on television.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, the baseball can get wild. Obviously, it's 12-year-olds, lack of concentration. You see some 17-1 games, but then you see some really fundamentally sound games. You see some real good talent. You see the kid from Taiwan out there Chinese Taipei. I'm sorry, throwing absolute petro, equivalent of 105. I think the hardest pitch was 107 equivalent. Like, come on. Team Japan, you see how organized they are. Curacao, I've always said they're one of the best amateur teams in the entire world. But you just get to see talent from all over the world at a youth age. And it's been going on forever. And one day I'll make myself up to Williamsport to see it because, it'd be fun to just take your kids and be a kid. I like what Bryce Harper was like. He got to take his kids and, he was the child prodigy and just trying to give back that love and that passion for the game. Like, there's no value for that. And that's the Little League World Series.
I'm not saying cancel the whole thing and take it off TV. I'm just saying less games on television. And I'm wondering how long until we add microphones on these kids. And that leads into our next segment, socially speaking. All right. You want to correspond with this podcast? Again, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Adam Jones Pod. We'll answer a tweet or social media post, or if you rate the podcast, that's even better, and give us 5 stars. That helps you qualify for that Miss Shirley's or Dunkin' Donuts gift card. So this week, we got a correspondence or 2. In fact, it is 2. We'll start with Carla. Who is the one pitcher you wish you had an opportunity to hit against in your career, Adam, that you didn't?
If you're an Oriole fan, you already know. Jim Palmer. I told him many times, I said, you think you can get that high fastball? Well, I'll slap that high fastball right back and turn it all the way around. He was like, yeah, young man, you ain't doing nothing like that. But no, Jim Palmer, because obviously I spent my career with the man, getting to talk to him. Obviously a previous guest on the Adam Jones podcast, but I was able to talk to him about baseball, about life a lot. And like, he's the best pitcher in Orioles history. He's the most famous pitcher I know. Besides like Ferguson Jenkins and CC and all that kind of Hall of Fame guys. But no, him, because of obviously he's great. He was great. And why wouldn't I want to face the greats?
Good answer there. All right, the next one comes from Alex Haney. What was your favorite memory that is not related to postseason play, Adam?
Oh, maybe the WBC catch.
That's a different championship level.
Maybe no. Okay, that's postseason in a way. I think the All-Star games, they're always going to stick out because now that I work with the commissioner's office, seeing the other side, seeing how these players, like, their eyes are just big-eyed and just how they appreciate the opportunity, the accomplishment that they have, that they've made for themselves, and just remembering, my time doing the same exact thing, flying in with my family, friends, and just soaking it all in. So the All-Star game, because it's just a culmination of your first half accomplishments, and then it gives you a good break and be around all the studs to level, see where you stack up at against the game's best, and then, get off into a good second half.
All right, good stuff there from AJ. And once again, we do want to thank our loyal sponsors, including our latest, and that would be Effective Solutions.
The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Charm City's favorite crab cake destination. Local sports fan, experience the ultimate pregame party at the tailgate. Cheer on the Ravens with iconic live performances, an open bar, and mouth-watering eats. Can't make it? No worries. Bring the same food that caught the attention of the Food Network right to your doorstep. Shipping East Coast recipes nationwide. Jimmy's Famous Seafood is the official sponsor of the guests appearing on the Adam Jones Podcast. And by our friends at the Weinman Company. By Hollywood Casino Perryville. For some, it's a game of chance, but for you, it's a game of choice. Hollywood and Barstool are bringing you more ways to bet in Maryland. Catch all the action in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville at the Barstool Sportsbook, or bet online with the Barstool Sportsbook app. When you download the Barstool Sportsbook app, register, and wager, you can get up to $1,000 bonus cash, plus up to $1,000 when you sign up and wager in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville. Play from anywhere and get up to $2,000. The choice is yours. Must be in the state of Maryland to wager and over 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. By Jack Daniel's, 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, the #1 cocktail in the world, is now available in a can. Yes, that's true. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey, mixed with Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, are now both available in a can. 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, ready to drink? Please drink responsibly. Whiskey Specialty, 7% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey, Lynchburg, Tennessee. By Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction, like leak investigation, framing, trim carpentry, insulation, drywall, painting, wallpaper, flooring, masonry, waterproofing, paving, tree removal, and much more. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. by G-Leaf Medical Cannabis only. Visit gleaf.com. Medical cannabis is for qualified Maryland patients only. The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Royal Farms. Download the Royal Farms app from the Apple App Store or Google Play today. New Royal Farms Rewards members will get a free any-size cup of Royal Farms award-winning coffee just for signing up.
You know, it takes a lot of hard work to be a professional football kicker. I would know. I am a professional football kicker. So when I need the energy to get through a tough practice, I get a cup of coffee from Royal Farms.
Try those beans.
Royal Farms' new coffee machines grind fresh beans and brew them for a perfect cup every time. It's the freshest coffee in the world and just the kick I need.
Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Much gratitude to senior executive producer Chip Franklin. Chip has the best dentist in all of Tijuana if you're looking for a recommendation. Thanks to the Baltimore Banner for their support. Be well, be kind, and make sure to be back again next week, folks, for another edition of the Adam Jones Podcast.